Somewhere under a brick factory's clay pit east of Moscow, two children lay head to head. Over their bodies, someone laid about 10,000 beads, each one carved by hand from mammoth ivory. Every bead took roughly an hour to make. Do that arithmetic, and you get years of a small community's labor put into the ground and covered over. It's the richest burial anyone has found from the Ice Age, and it raises a question harder to answer than it looks. Did they love their children the way we do? The site is Sungir, on the edge of Vladimir, 190 kilometers east of Moscow. In 1955, a machine operator digging clay struck mammoth bone 3 meters down. Otto Bader, an archaeologist from Moscow, began excavating in 1957 and kept going, on and off, for 20 years. He found a camp, hearths, stone tools, butchered horse and reindeer. Then he found a man, adult, somewhere around 40 to 50, buried on his back under about 3,000 ivory beads, with a belt of Arctic fox teeth. Later, in the same layer, came the second grave. Two children in a single, narrow pit, laid out in opposite directions, the crowns of their skulls touching. One was around 12 or 13. The other was younger, 9 or 10. Both were covered, from head to foot, in beadwork. The count from that one grave is about 10,000 beads. That number has kept archaeologists arguing for 50 years. A mammoth ivory bead is not a quick thing to make. You cut a blank, shape it, drill a hole through the middle with a stone point, and grind the surface smooth. Randall White, an archaeologist at New York University, spent years replicating Palaeolithic beadwork. His experiments put beads like these at roughly an hour each. Some estimates run to 3. Take the low number. 10,000 beads is 10,000 hours. One person working 8 hours a day, every day, would need more than 3 years. Nobody worked 8 hours a day on beads. There was hunting, hide working, firewood, weather, children. Spread across 20 or 30 people, this is still a project measured in seasons. And here's the detail I keep coming back to. The beads in the children's grave are smaller than the beads on the adult man, scaled down. That's odd if you're recycling an heirloom or stripping a coat off an adult body. Small beads for small bodies suggest these garments were made for these two children. Made when, though? Slowly, over years while they were alive, or afterwards, by a group that stopped everything else? The beads can't tell us. And the beads are only part of it. Beside the older child lay a spear made from a mammoth tusk, straightened somehow, over 2 meters long. The younger child had one too, shorter. Straightening mammoth ivory is a serious technical problem, and we still aren't certain how they did it. They were pierced antler rods, carved ivory discs with cut-out spokes, a small ivory figurine of a mammoth, hundreds of fox canines, deer antler, and by the younger child's head, someone had placed a human thigh bone. The ends were snapped off, and the hollow shaft packed solid with red ochre. That bone came from another person. We don't know who they were, how they died, or what the ochre inside them was meant to do. Red ochre is all over this grave, under the bodies, on them, through the fill. It appears in Ice Age burials across Europe, with no agreed explanation. So, enormous labor, careful arrangement, objects that are plainly not everyday tools, and at least one act nobody can interpret. Which brings us to who these children actually were. For decades, they were described as a boy and a girl, but sexing a child's skeleton is unreliable. The features that separate male and female mostly arrive at puberty. In 2017, a team led by Martin Sikora published genomes from the Sunghir individuals in Science. Both children were male. The same study found something stranger. The people buried at Sunghir were not close relatives. No parent and child, no siblings among the ones they sequenced. Their genomes showed very little inbreeding. In a small band on an empty landscape, that only happens if people deliberately find partners outside the group they live with. That means networks, meeting other bands, moving people between them, keeping track of who was related to whom. Social machinery more than 30,000 years ago. The date itself is less settled. Early measurements said 24,000 years. Later radiocarbon work pushed it back. The figure usually quoted now is around 34,000. The younger child skeleton is unusual. His thigh bones are short and strongly curved, bowed in a way that looks congenital, not the result of an injury. We can't diagnose him from bones alone, but he almost certainly moved differently from everyone around him, from the day he learned to walk. Eric Trinkus and Alexandra Buzhalova have pointed out something uncomfortable about this site. Most people at Sunghir were not buried like this at all. There are scattered fragments of at least 10 individuals across the site, handled in ways we'd struggle to call burial. The rich graves are the exception, not the custom, and the people in those rich graves tend to be physically unusual. Trinkus argues that being anomalous may be part of why they were singled out. That opens a colder reading. Maybe the beads mark status, or ritual, or something nearer to sacrifice, and not grief at all. I can't rule it out. No version of this evidence settles it. Bones and beads record what was done, never why. But I find the sacrifice reading harder to carry than it first sounds. It explains the effort. It doesn't explain the arrangement. 2 children, head to head, crowns touching, in one pit. That's a decision about the pair of them, not about a ritual role either could have filled alone. And it doesn't explain the small beads. Somebody sized years of work to the body of a child. Still, I want to be careful about what 10,000 beads measures. It measures the community, what it could spare, and that it chose to spend it here. It does not prove anyone cried. Huge public effort can come from obligation, from fear, from politics, from a group's need to hold itself together after a shock. We do this ourselves. A state funeral isn't evidence of private love. It's evidence that a death mattered to a lot of people at the same time. What the grave can't reach is the thing you'd actually want to know. Whether someone at Sunghir lay awake, unable to stop seeing one particular child's face. The honest answer is that we don't know, and archaeology has no method that could find out. Anyone who tells you otherwise is filling in the blank with themselves. What we do know is this. Hunter-gatherers on a cold plain, with no writing, no metal, no farming, decided 2 dead children were worth years of work. They didn't have to. Nothing about surviving a glacial winter requires 10,000 hand-drilled beads. Grief is expensive, and they paid for it anyway. That's what carries across 34,000 years. Not proof of feeling, but proof that people already had somewhere to put it, and thought it was worth the cost. Then it went into the dark, and stayed there, until a machine operator digging clay outside Vladimir clipped the edge of a mammoth bone. If you want more of this, what Ice Age people ate, how they slept, what they did when a winter wouldn't end, there's more on the channel.